Hi and welcome to chandu.org. This is Chandu here and I'm super excited to meet you in this awesome August. Awesome August is an Excel festival that I'm celebrating on chandu.org, where for each and every one of the 31 days in August I'm going to publish a new piece of content. It could be a video, it could be an article, it could be a podcast, it could be a template or download, whatever may be the thing. The intention is to make you awesome in this August and beyond in your day-to-day work. So for this day's topic, we're going to talk about how to create dynamic sparklines for the latest 30 days of data. So I'm assuming you are already familiar with the sparklines feature of Excel, which is introduced in 2010 Excel, and it is a powerful feature where we can create small tiny little charts that fit into a single cell and that can tell the story of how certain things are going on, like the trend of a particular range of values or win loss, etc. Now one of the good things with sparklines is they're extremely easy to create, but what if you have a lot of data and you just want to visualize the sparkline trend for the latest 30 days. Although we are going to talk about latest 30 days, the technique that I'm going to show you is useful for creating sparklines for latest 13 months or latest 7 weeks or last top 25 products or whatever you may fancy. Okay, so let's jump into the example here. I have prepared a workbook. You can download this workbook. For that, please visit chandu.org and check out the Awesome August page. Alternatively, if you are watching this video on YouTube, just go to the description and click on the link for this particular article and download the workbook. So let's say you operate some sort of a business and you're looking at some sort of a data, like how many customers have walked into the stores, how many of them have purchased, and what is the conversion ratio. And you have data for the months of June and July 2015. So you have data for June 2015 and July 2015, and you would like to analyze this and see the trends. The quickest and easiest way would be to select all these three columns of data and go to Insert and click on Sparkline. Excel will ask you, where do you want this sparkline? So I'm going to select the top 3 cells and instantly we'll get those sparklines. Now the good thing with these sparklines are that they are representing the entire trend for all the 2 months of data we have. Now in many day-to-day business analysis, you usually deal with a lot more data than you need. By that what I mean is, although we have data for the both months, maybe from a practical day-to-day decision-making point of view, you don't really need to worry about what happened in the month of June. You maybe want to just look at the month of July and see the trend in isolation. One quick way to do that would be to create the sparkline from the bottom 30 or 31 rows. But the biggest challenge with that approach is what happens when you have more data, right? What if you have data for August as well? I know this could be future for some of you, but let's say we have data for the entire month of August as well, and we just want to add this data at the end of the table. In business situations, usually when you add new data, it goes at the bottom of the existing data. So when this happens, you will have to rearrange your sparklines so that they will also move down, and that's a lot of hassle, isn't it? One approach would be, those of you who deal with these kind of problems and use it with slightly advanced Excel formulas, you may be already familiar with this. This approach is to use some sort of a dynamic named range like offset or index based formulas, which will always point to the bottom 30 or 31 rows of data. While that approach is good, it could be tedious and it could create a lot of headache when to set them up and maintain them and audit worksheets and whatnot. So I'm going to show you a really simple, very relevant and lightweight technique. All you got to do is, even if you have daily data or monthly data or whatever may be the data, create a pivot table from this data. Okay, So we create a pivot table. I'm going to put this pivot table in a new worksheet, but It doesn't have to be in a new worksheet, it could be in the same page as well. We'll keep it in a separate sheet so that we can work with the pivot table in isolation. Now what we will do is we'll take the date, add it to the row label, so each day is showing up as 1, and I'm going to add customer walk-ins, purchases and conversion values to the values area. Essentially what I have done is I've created a pivot table that is exact replica of my original data. If you look at this data, the 1st of June data is 3,800 customers, 2,400 purchases and 62% conversion, which is the same data that you have here. Maybe the precision is a little more here, but exact same data. Once you create the pivot table, you could sort this pivot table in descending order or in reverse chronological order. The way to do that would be you can use that button and do it, but because when I click on it, the thing that pops up is outside the recording area. I'm going to show you another approach. Right click on the date and then sort newest to oldest. That means the newest date, which is 31st of July, will appear on the top. So we reversed the pivot table. We kind of flipped it vertically, and now we have this thing. Once you have a shape like this, all you have to do is select the first 30 elements in this pivot table and create a sparkline from that. So what we will do is we will select the first 30 items, and then we will say insert sparkline. Let's insert them on the top here for the time being and click OK. So this is your latest 30-day trend for each of the categories, so customer walk-ins, purchases and conversion rates. Now do you see anything wrong with this? Right? Obviously this is a video, so if you see something wrong with it, you can't even tell me anyway. So I'm going to volunteer and tell you what is wrong with this. While the trend is correct, it is in the reverse way. That is, what happened on 31st July is here, and what happened on 1st of July or 2nd of July is there. So it is in the reverse order of the way we usually perceive things. So if I'm looking at this and I want to know whether we have improved or not in July, if this line is going down, that means we have improved. If it is going up, that means we have declined in sales, which is counterintuitive, isn't it? When you make a line chart, especially with trends that have a time component, we would expect the time component to be in chronological order, not in reverse chronological order. Of course, if we have to create a chronological order here, that means we will end up having to write some sort of an offset or index based dynamic ranges. We didn't want to do that, so we created pivot table, we sorted it, and we just pointed the sparklines to pick up the values from the top 30 rows all the time. Now how do we flip the sparkline? Well, that is very simple. All you have to do is select the sparklines, go to the design tab and click on axis, and there is your plot data right to left. What this does is it will flip the axis, and whatever value is on 31st July will show up at the end of the line. Whatever value is at the 2nd of July, it will show up at the beginning of the line. So if you do that, the lines will get reversed. So now the sparklines are fixed. What happens when you have new data? Well, that's very simple. You take your new data. I'm going to copy all of this. Go to your data from which the pivot is created. Go to the bottom, and I'm going to paste it. Naturally, the table formatting gets extended. We come back here and we just refresh the pivot. When you refresh, August data gets loaded, and again, because the pivot table is set up to be sorted on the date column, it gets sorted automatically, and we see the sparklines that point to the latest 30-day trend for August. Okay, so this is a very simple and very elegant solution to the problem of using sparklines but having to deal with all sorts of extra problems like, how do I show it only for the latest 13 months and not all the data. You can use this approach with both regular pivot tables and power pivot tables. Especially when I deal with power pivot and when I teach it in a live class or my online class, we often create dashboards where sparklines play a very important role, and most of the time goes into setting up the calculations so that we only worry about the latest 13 months or latest 12 months, because that's where the trend analysis happens usually in business. So instead of wasting a lot of time setting up such dynamic stuff, you could use simple pivot tables and sort them and point to the top 12 or 13 rows of the table and create your sparklines from that. So I hope you find this particular technique in our Awesome August quite useful. If you want to learn more, I encourage you to download the workbook and click on the blue button that takes you to the Awesome August page, where you can see all the other articles that are part of this particular series. You may also want to consider enrolling in either Excel School or Power Pivot class program, where we talk a lot about these kind of techniques and show you how to use Excel better, how to come up with various kind of charts and presentations that are both interesting, intuitive and user friendly. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you again in the next one. Bye bye.